Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 32 of our TCW Save in TW 2020. This is Total Wrestling for May, week 2. And yes, we continue the road to Total Mayhem, only a couple weeks away now from our biggest show of the year. I apologize. I know we went about a little over a week without a new episode of the TCW Save, but as you guys know, I did jump into the new WWE 2024 Save, which I know a lot of people were excited about. And so that's fun to see all the great feedback on that. So we've been kind of getting the first several episodes out on that. So now we jump back into the C-Verse with TCW, and we pick up where we left off last week, which you remember was a huge development, as it was the return of Scout and Guide as a unit here. The new wave, one-man army, of course, was taking the beat down from the Elite. All the sort of tension between Doc Hammond and the rest of his syndicate members boiled over, and it was the return of Scout here, and now we have Guide. So Doc Hammond, one-man army, they've reformed the new wave, and so we kind of see everything kind of pointing out the history between the two, everything that led to the turn last week. We also see kind of the exchange that we had between Aaron Andrews and Wolf Hawkins, with Andrews talking about how he didn't think Wolf was ready for this big rematch, which was confirmed as our main event for Total Mayhem. And Wolf kind of pointing out that he was going to do this a different way. And he has a different approach, and we will see kind of what that leads to here heading into this episode. So get a 74 to start off with here with our video highlights, pumping up last week's action. All right, now we start in the ring, and it's Kyle Rhodes, who is in there with the one and only Wolf Hawkins and the Elite, the Syndicate here. And immediately we get Eddie Chandler grabbing the microphone, and Eddie Chandler's just going off. Perfect facial expression here for Eddie Chandler. He's ready to go off on somebody. Meanwhile, Nate Johnson, cool, calm, and collected as always. But even he is getting a little upset here as they just talk about how they want to destroy the new wave, whatever they're calling themselves. Basically, they're wanting to get back at Doc Hammond, one-man army. They're going to finish the job once and for all, and that they always knew that Doc was a coward. And all this other stuff. So the heel's just running down Doc Hammond for turning on him. So he's now out of the syndicate. Remember, the syndicate now down to 3 as Chris Flynn, they beat him down and, ended him at his role in the syndicate. Now Doc Hammond has made his exit. So it's just Wolf and these two. So Wolf kind of seeing his support dwindle away here. And so Wolf just tries to get these two calmed down. He said, guys, we will take care of this. I've said it from the start. It's taken longer, but we will take care of this entire situation. And then we get Wolf saying, but I want to bring up something else. And Kyle Rhodes, you already know this, but I want to make it clear to everybody. I went this past week and I made a specific request to the TCW committee that I wanted some time with the champion, Aaron Andrews, in the ring later tonight on Total Wrestling. I want him to meet me in the ring, and I even went as far as saying that I will do this with this condition. The Elite are banned from ringside. And Eddie Chandler and Nate Johnson are looking at him, what are you doing? Like, we're in the middle of all this. He's like, guys, calm down. Wolf says, I made it very clear that in order to grant me this time with Aaron Andrews in the middle of the ring later on tonight, and to essentially force the champion to go face-to-face with me, that I made the deal that no member of the Elite, Eddie Chandler, Nate Johnson, neither, can be in the ring tonight. And if they do, if they come in and try to interfere in anything that I do in that ring, anything I have to say to Aaron Andrews, if they get involved, I will give up my shot at the TCW World Heavyweight Championship at Total Mayhem. This just sets Eddie Chandler off, and Nate Johnson, they're like, what are you doing? Why would you do this? And even Kyle Rhodes is like, what are you doing? Like, you had plenty to say to Aaron Andrews. Last week, you two were standing in the middle of the ring right here with me, and you've already talked to him. And Wolf just says, I did, but I have something more to say. I need to go back in time a little bit, and I need to bring up a little history lesson for our TCW World Heavyweight Champion. So Wolf, pretty confident here, it sounds like. And even, again, went as far as to say the Elite are banned from ringside. My members in the syndicate are banned from ringside here with the Elite. And that, he requested it, and the TCW committee has granted it. So Wolf will give up his TCW Heavyweight Championship. That's as far as him to say, he's going to do this thing by himself. So Wolf has set it up here, and so now we know we will get a face-to-face later on tonight. Another one, back-to-back weeks here, Wolf Hawkins and Aaron Andrews. But Wolf takes it a step further, sort of giving Aaron Andrews the incentive to meet him in the ring, one-on-one, man-to-man here. So we will see what happens later on. So 73 for the segment. But as Wolf is finishing, here they are, your new favorite tag team, the New Wave. Maybe we'd call them the Old Wave, because they're both getting on up there. Here they come, and they're marching to the ring. I don't know if they're doing like a full-on march, but I thought it'd be fun to say that they're marching to the ring. But here they come, and yes, we kind of see that they have reunited here. They've kind of brought back their former selves in this one. Yeah, and now they head to the ring, and Eddie Chandler and Nate Johnson, they were ready to pounce. And so here we go. We get a brawl going, but Wolf is going to retreat here as he's getting out of the way. We get these two teams going at it. They're brawling all around ringside. Kyle Rhodes is calling for, some help in the back, and the officials come out to try to break these two teams up. They're trying to tear each other apart based on everything that's built to this point. The officials finally get them kind of pulled apart. The crowd's buzzing. Just chaos here to start Total Wrestling with these two teams trying to go at each other. And Wolf has kind of retreated here, getting out of the way of any of this. So 72 for the segment. Hot start here. And as we know, sets up a lot moving forward, plus the big showdown in the ring later between Wolf Hawkins and Aaron Andrews. All right, now it's time for our TCW World Tag Team Championship match. And remember, we set this up last week. Mighty Meaty defending against Troy Tornado and Ernest Youngman. And they had been the hot team, right? They had been the team on the roll here. But unfortunately, in a pretty short match, this thing doesn't go very long, and we'll explain why here in just a second. Mighty Meaty get the win over Troy Tornado and Ernest Youngman after Tana gets the pin on Troy Tornado with a big fat Samoan squash. One of the best finishers out there. That is defense number 4 now, the TCW World Tag Team titles. Mo carries the match from a performance standpoint. 57, not a great one, but remember, we're still working with Youngman pretty not quite there yet in terms of popularity. Tornado's not bad. These two aren't bad, but just didn't get there. In-ring performance is all decent enough. But the story here is, why is this in so quickly? Well, it only goes 5 minutes because, remember, we had been playing up the theme that Ernest Youngman had allowed Troy Tornado to start to get into these tag matches. At first, Youngman was doing all the work. Finally, let Tornado get involved, and Troy started to prove himself. He started to, be able to kind of get on the right page here, and so Youngman got a little more confident in him. Well, he lets Troy Tornado get involved early here, but what happens? A little bit of, just Youngman not able to get to Troy Tornado like as he goes here, and he gets the big fastest Samoan squash, and Tornado gets pinned. So it's not even a competitive match, essentially, as Troy essentially screws up here and takes the pin early to not even give Youngman a chance, in this match. So again, 57 for the segment. So Mighty Meaty, a successful title defense for them, coming off of their defense at Where Angels Fear against the Peak Brothers. So they get the win, and, they're kind of standing over in the corner, kind of regrouping after this, quick championship victory. They're celebrating with the fans. And so afterwards, what we get is Troy Tornado just kind of looking up and saying, oh, man, I'm sorry. He goes over to Youngman, and he's just apologizing, just to say, I'm sorry, I let us down there. I got caught in this wrong position, and he just got me. He just saying, he just got me. And he's just apologizing. And then we see Ernest Youngman just sort of turn and look right at Troy Tornado, and he just gives them this coldest stare you could find. This guy, just one of those stare downs that you don't forget, right? Just staring right into Troy Tornado's soul here. And you can see the fans kind of look at this thinking, uh-oh, what's about to happen? So Youngman just gives him this cold, cold stare here. And Tornado's just kind of looking like he's like, oh boy, like he's seen a ghost here. He's like, come on, man. Almost thinking what we're all thinking, what's about to happen. But that's it. Ernest Youngman just gives him the cold stare. And then we see Youngman walk off here by himself as Troy Tornado clearly, just a little bit flustered after this. The quick title match, not what they had in mind. So that is how it unfolds there with Youngman walking off. Then we see Tornado walking far behind Youngman here to try to catch up with him. So 54 for that, which leaves who in the ring? It leaves our tag team champions in the ring all alone. And, well, they're back. The Center Society. 69, nice rating here. Here comes the entire group. Eddie Peak, Doug Peak, Killer Shark, Titan, Nick Booth. They all make their way out. There's only 2 guys in the ring. We'll get to him in a second. But they make their way out, and it is a divide and conquer strategy from Eddie Peak as he's barking out orders, and we see Eddie Peak about as angry as we've ever seen him. Like, his anger, we know, has been going up and up and up over the past 4 months. With all this feuding going on with Mighty Mo and Tana not being able to get the better of them, Peak Brothers came up short at the last match. So what happens here? They divide and conquer. We see the Behemoths, Killer Shark and Titan, going after Mo, and they are just taking it to Mo. They hold him back. So they're holding Mo down, but it's what happens after that that's important. So as they're holding Mo down, we see Doug Peak and Nick Booth hold this huge Tana the Mighty here. They're trying to hold him down, and that's when Eddie Peak, as usual, grabs the chair, takes it right to the back of Tana. Remember, he tried to chop down Tana, as he called it, about a month or 2 ago. And except this time, we think he's just doing that again here with the chair shots to the back, but it's worse than that. After Tana goes down, we see Eddie Peak take the chair and try to wrap it around the leg of Tana. And what happens? Peak goes and is trying to break Tana's leg here, and he is just stomping, going at the leg. Tana's in a lot of pain, so we don't know if he's broken the leg, but he's trying his best. As the beatdown continues here from the Center Society, these 2 are holding off Mighty Mo, who's trying to get to Tana. It doesn't happen because Shark and Titan are doing a number on him. Finally, as all of this is going on, I only can put one other person in here because we've had a lot of people put in, but this is where we see Benny Benson and Flying Jimmy Fox. They run their way down to try to do a little help here. We get some other baby faces coming out of the locker room. That eventually sends the Center Society out of the ring, but the damage has been done, right? Mo's been held down. He's been beaten down, but the worst part is that Tana, his leg may be broken here. Like, the heels just took it right to his leg. Eddie Peak had a clear intention, and he is just, who knows what's happened. We'll have to figure out what the damage is on Tana's leg, but the Center Society not playing around here. They take it up another notch here, and Eddie Peak in rare form as they're taking him out. The babyface is trying to make the save. Mo is concerned. All of this, and that's how we end before we go to a commercial. So all this chaos, more chaos here. This is a very chaotic episode, as you guys are going to see with everything that's going on. But we'll find out what's happening here. But why do we bring Benny Benson and Flying Jimmy Fox out? Because that's going to kind of play into the next part of this. Remember, they're not the only guys who made the save. I don't want to act like they fought off the entire Center Society, but we had a bunch of baby faces running down. Those were kind of the main ones here used as the theme. So 69 for that one. It's because they're in action next, and we do have commentary kind of playing it up here. These are little details I add. We don't have an entire segment for it, but playing up that these 2 just seem rattled, right? Like, they just seem rattled coming out of this after everything that just happened with Tana. You can tell they're a little concerned. You can see, Benson kind of looking to the back as the match is going on. But they're able to still get the win over Seth Whitehead and Jeremy Courtney here. 59 for the match, not great. Benson pins Jeremy Courtney with the shockwave from next year. So, decent enough stuff here on that. But that will play into something we will have in mind, as you'll see on next week's episode. Why was it Benny Benson and Jimmy Fox? Well, we'll get to that coming up soon enough. So they get the win here in tag team action. A lot of tag team matches on this show, as you'll see. Remember, Aaron Andrews and Edd Stone still in action later on too. All right, now we get video here, and as Kyle Rhodes notes of this video, this is part 1 of our 2-part interview series with the 2 men that will meet for the returning International Championship at Total Mayhem. And one half of that, as we know, is Joshua Taylor. This gets a 67, and it is basically we're doing this, sit-down interview style. Kyle Rhodes has sat down with Joshua Taylor to get his thoughts on the match, leading into this, kind of everything that's at stake. And the theme here is that Joshua Taylor's pointing out, he's just going to try to do what he's been doing from the start, and that is continue to win matches. He's learned a lot over the past 5 months about himself, as Taylor says, and he notes that he has a bigger goal in mind after he wins the International Championship at Total Mayhem. So we're going to make these kind of short promos, but that's kind of the point here, is that Taylor's saying he has a bigger goal in mind after he wins the title and beats T-Bone Bright. So that's one part of this. Again, we'll have more stuff to come kind of building up this match, but there's your kind of sit down with Joshua Taylor noting his goal after he wins the championship. So 67 for that one. All right, now we get Jay Cord in action as he gets the win over Harvey Robinfield here. And I'm like, I don't even have to look at the bottom. As soon as I saw the rating, I'm like, yep, going to be chemistry. Sure enough, these two do not have any chemistry. Come on, Harvey. If you can't click with Jay Cord, what are you doing? But we know Harvey is a MAW guy, very young on the roster. We've kind of called him up, given him some opportunities to shine. But still, someone, I think he's 25, 26, something like that. 60 for the match, so again, did not do as well. 731. Of course, Jay gets the win here. The Super DDT does it. 70 for Jay in the ring. Of course, stood out fine, but he's going to get better than that if he has a better opponent. But not really about the match because, this is just sort of a match to keep Jay Cord fresh. Sammy Bach was in action last week. Jay wrestles this week. They're going to meet, as we know, in Total Mayhem, one of our other main events on that show. But afterwards, what happens? Well, Jay Cord, his usual self, right? The cocky Jay Cord, who just thinks he can do anything. Well, him and Greg Gage, of course, Gage is with him ringside, and they start taunting Harvey Robinfield here, and they're just kind of taunting him, all this other stuff. So they're just really, giving it to this guy in terms of the taunting. But here comes Sammy Bach, and here comes Edd Stone. So these two make their way out. They're going to make the save. They're not going to stand for this trash talk. These two guys going after the rookie here. So they come out to make the save for Robinfield. That sends Cord and Gage retreating. So 84 for the segment here. And as we know, we've been pushing Edd Stone a little bit more. He made the comments a couple weeks ago after Greg Gage essentially sort of took a shot at him, indirectly, about saying that there were no other second-generation stars that could come close to him and Jay Cord, and that no one else had sort of earned the spot that they had earned and all this other stuff. And Edd Stone had, cut a promo taking offense to that. So these two come out, and as we said, Stone's going to team with Andrews, and we did see Stone come out with Andrews last week to make the save for Sammy Bach after these two got involved. So that's kind of what we're pushing here. With these two getting out of there, these two still in the ring. That's going to lead us to the next segment because here comes Aaron Andrews, who's also out. So we go straight from getting, the heels out of there to now we've got all three of these guys in the ring, and it's Kyle Rhodes with them once again. 84 for the segment on this one. And Kyle Rhodes wants to know, let's start this off here quickly. Aaron, you heard earlier, I'm sure, that Wolf Hawkins has gone to the TCW committee here and requested time with you here tonight in the middle of the ring, and he put everything at stake. He essentially put his, entire shot at you on the line if anyone from the Elite got involved. So if Eddie Chandler and Nate Johnson got in there, he put everything on the line here. And Andrews just says, Kyle, I'm never one to back down from a challenge. I will be out there and I will meet Wolf Hawkins face-to-face in the middle of the ring right after the main event, as Ed and I, as you know, are going to team up in the main event to take on Rich and Famous. That's what we're focused on right now. But I will meet him in the middle of the ring because here's why he requested this, Kyle. I'll just go ahead and tell you, and I'll tell everybody else out there. It's because Wolf is doing a lot of talking leading up to this match at Total Mayhem. And the reason he's doing a lot of talking is because he's nervous, because he's got to talk all of this nervous energy out of him. Because just like I said last week, he remembers what happened the last time we met in the middle of the ring. I took this World Heavyweight Championship from him, and I've not let it go since almost a year ago now. And that's why he wants to meet me in the ring, because he wants to keep talking. He's had all these distractions, everything else that's going on. He knows he's not ready to step back into the ring with me and take this championship off my shoulder. And so absolutely, I'll be out here later on after the main event, and Wolf can come find me, and we'll talk about whatever he wants to talk about, but it's not going to change what's going to happen at Total Mayhem. So Aaron Andrews agreeing to the face-off, but we got more, because then we see Kyle Rose kind of turn his attention to Edd Stone, saying, Ed, you've kind of been involved here with Greg Gage over the past couple weeks. We heard you take offense to what he had to say about second-generation wrestlers several weeks ago. I'm just curious. You've clearly got your eye on Greg Gage here. Is there anything you'd like to add? And Edd Stone says, yes, Kyle, I absolutely do have something to add. That is the fact that, as I said, Greg Gage took a shot at not just me, but my family name. We know where Jay Cord's coming from. We know where Greg Gage is coming from. We know who their dads are. But as I said, you're not going to take a shot at the Stone family, because we don't ever back down from a challenge either. Just like Aaron just said, we don't back down from these things. So if you're going to talk, put our name in your mouth, you better have something to cash it, because I am taking aim at Greg Gage. And I'll just say, if he wants to have a battle between second-generation stars, well, we know he's not going to do it with his pal Jay Cord. But if he wants to step in the ring with somebody to prove who the better second-generation wrestler is, well, he's not stepped into the ring with me anytime recently. So here it is right now. I'll issue an open challenge to Greg Gage. If he wants to meet me in the ring, he can. Anytime, any place, and we'll find out if what he said was true about everyone else that's a second-generation wrestler out there. Because I'm out to prove, just like I said before, and if he wants to step in the ring with me, I'll be waiting for him. So Edd Stone has thrown down a challenge here to Greg Gage anytime, any place. So we'll see what happens with that. So there's a couple promos to get you ready for the second half of the show, perhaps. So 84 for the segment here. And that leads us into the next match. So we go to commercial after this, worth noting, because, I like to make sure that we're not just putting something back to back. But our next match is going to be Wolf Hawkins versus Human Arsenal. And let me just tell you right now, I expect good things from this match from a rating standpoint. Yes, it probably should have been the main event if I wanted to get the best rating, but I didn't play it out that way, and I'll explain why in a little bit. So, oh my God. Wow. Okay. So in hindsight, I probably should have put this in the main event slot. But again, this was all about, me and my details, right? I didn't want to put Wolf and Arsenal in the main event, and there was a reason for that. So I will get to that a little bit later. But for now, 93 for the match. I'm pretty sure this ties our best match we've ever had, because I think something else got a 93. Was that Wolf and Bach, maybe? I don't remember. That was early in the save. But this comes close. A 93 for Wolf Hawkins, getting the win over Human Arsenal. John Anderson, 17:04 with the full moon rising. John Anderson, one of the oldest guys on the roster. Yet he still goes for a 17-minute match here and a 93 rating. Wolf with a 92, Human Arsenal, John Anderson with a 71. Tremendous stuff. So Wolf gets the win. That's kind of the story here, is that we just kind of see Wolf, flexing his skills, showing what he's capable of. That's kind of the story of the match. No shenanigans, none of that. So maybe Wolf, to a certain extent, was right. Maybe he's taking this thing as a single approach. Maybe he's out to prove that he's just better, and it's not all about the other shenanigans, right? We'll find out. So what a match. That certainly should have been in the main event from a rating standpoint, but that's okay. I'm willing to take the hit rating-wise just to be able to kind of tell the story we need to tell with the others. So, all right, Kyle Rhodes is back, and he's back with your favorite man in the world, Freddie Huggins. And Matt Hawking, you're here, and it's finally time for Freddie to read the letter, right? 70 overall for the rating here. Freddie's excited because he's like, okay, I'm here. There's nothing that's going to stop me from reading this letter. So he just says, Kyle, get that microphone over here. I got to do this quick, because every time I've tried to read this letter, somebody has come out here and got in my business. And he says, I'm not going to allow that. It's been too long since this match a couple weeks ago. I've got to get this out. So Freddie takes this huge scroll. Remember, the other one got ripped up previously by Benny Benson and company. But Freddie Huggins takes this letter out. Freddie's just talking about all the things that they got wrong and how he was cheated out of his championship opportunity against Aaron Andrews. And remember, he was not. Like, he lost the match fair and square after he was the one that tried to cheat, but it backfired on him. And so he's continuing on until finally, somewhere in this letter, I know, guys, I probably should have had the entire letter for you guys. I should have just read it word for word, but I just could not put it together in the time I needed to do this. So he does make the declaration saying that despite everything out there, that I feel like TCW, you have cheated me and not given me my rightful rematch. He says, I would hereby announce that I am officially naming myself the number one contender to the winner of the Aaron Andrews and Wolf Hawkins match at Total Mayhem. And that, he says, thank you in advance, Freddie Huggins. So he finishes the letter with that. And so Freddie has officially declared himself the number one contender. And Kyle Rhodes is just like, Freddie, I don't think you can do that. I don't think that's how this works. And he says, of course I can. I can do whatever I want. I was cheated out of my opportunity. And before Freddie can continue, what happens? Of course he's going to get interrupted. 70 for this one. And here comes Angry Gilmore. Gilmore makes his way down. And Freddie's like, come on, what's going on here? Like, come on, why is this guy back out here again trying to steal my spotlight and all this other stuff? So Gilmore just says he doesn't have a long letter to read and that he appreciates, you allowing him to speak. But he says, Freddie, you can say whatever you want, and I think Mr. Rhodes here is onto something. I don't think you can just declare yourself the number one contender for a championship around here. You've got to earn it. And he said, that's what I came here to do. I came here to earn my shot at the TCW World Heavyweight Championship, the championship I consider to be the biggest in all of professional wrestling. And he says, so if you think that you're also in that conversation and you also should be considered by the committee to be the number one contender, well, then why don't we just settle this? Let's find out which one of us is the rightful top challenger, perhaps, to the TCW World Heavyweight Championship. And so Gilmore essentially challenges Freddie Huggins here to a match, and we just see Freddie say, hold on a second. I didn't come out here to say that I was going to accept anyone else being the number one contender. I came out here and said, I am the number one contender. I'm the one that deserves the next match. And Kyle Rhodes once again points out, Freddie, you cannot do that. Like, that's not how this works. You cannot name yourself the number one contender. And so Gilmore just says, no matter what you decide, Freddie, the offer stands. I'll be in the ring, and you can watch me right now to see what a true challenger looks like for a World Heavyweight Championship. So we are going to get Angry Gilmore in action as Freddie Huggins kind of pouts his way to the outside, upset that perhaps Kyle Rhodes just did not agree with him and say that he is the number one contender and all of this stuff. So an 82 for the segment, and that is going to lead us into the match. Gilmore gets the win over Roderick Remus, 10-01. Anger Management does it, so 76 for this one, 73 and 62 for the in-ring performances there. So just kind of your spotlight, and we are kind of pushing that Freddie was just sort of standing on the outside the entire match, just watching, taking notes essentially of Angry Gilmore. So that's kind of what we're pushing here for that. So Gilmore gets the win. We'll see what it leads to with this whole exchange with Freddie Huggins. All right, now we get part two of our interview series here. Kyle Rhodes, we get the video interview with T-Bone Bright, who is the other half of the International Championship match that's going to take place at Total Mayhem. And Kyle Rhodes just asking, T-Bone, you won a championship in IPW. Like, you won in your former stop, but you've never won a championship here in TCW. I know you brought it up before, your goal to be a champion. And T-Bone just says, Kyle, you have no idea what it would mean for me to be, to win my first championship here in TCW. And he just talks about, all the effort he's put in to get here. No one ever gave him a shot when he was a kid. No one ever thought that he could have a chance to be, a champion. And all this other stuff, kind of bringing up the backstory here, and that he didn't even know if he'd make it to this point in TCW. But now that he's here, he's proven himself. He hasn't lost a match in months, and he's going to go out there and show just how much it means to him to get that international championship and be a champion for the first time ever. And if he's got to go through Joshua Taylor to do it, he knows it's a tough opponent, but he will find a way. So T-Bone, babyface promo here, talking about, again, what would be his first ever championship here in TCW. So we're kind of playing that up with him leading into the match. So 70 for this one. And that's going to lead us into our main events, which will not rating-wise, I know, do as well as Wolf Hawkins versus Human Arsenal. But let's at least try to get to an 80, maybe. Let's try to get an 80. That's all I ask for in this one. And, okay, so I ask and I receive. At least it gets an 80. As it is Aaron Andrews and Edd Stone getting the win over Rich and Famous here. So, that's kind of your story, the way this thing plays up. So, Aaron Andrews, Edd Stone get the victory. 7:45. Just nothing more than a showcase here for this tag team of Andrews and Stone. So, that's kind of the setup here. So, remember, why did I put this at the end? Because I just liked it better to have Aaron Andrews in the ring as the next person comes out. And yes, we know who that's going to be. 99 segment here for this one. So I like the visual better of having Aaron Andrews come in, and he's got Edd Stone there with him. And we kind of see Aaron Andrews just send Edd Stone to the back as Wolf Hawkins makes his way down. Aaron Andrews simply agreeing here that it is just going to be him and Wolf Hawkins inside this ring face-to-face. So we get them in the ring, crowd's kind of buzzing here, and Kyle Rhodes goes to come in, but Wolf just says, no, this is between us two. And so we see Wolf grab the microphone. You guys know I like to have a guy holding the microphone. That's been one of my kind of old school things as I try to play it up in the series. But this is a little different, so it's a little different than usual. This is kind of your WWE style where people just grabbing microphones and talking to each other. That's not how we played it up. We've always kind of had someone with the interview here, but we're not going to have it here, so we're making it different. So Wolf tells Aaron Andrews, I heard a lot of what you said earlier, and I heard a lot of what you said last week. And I just want to tell you that there's something you said that I think you're right about. And Wolf says, I admit it. You were better than me last July. I had the championship. I was at the top of the world. But on that night, you were just better than me. And he said, I'd even argue to say there have been times since then where if we've been in the ring together, you've been better than me. But Wolf says, here's what you don't get. He says, you think that I'm doing all this to be able, because I'm nervous, because I'm scared of the rematch, and I've got all this other stuff going on with losing members of the syndicate and everything that's going on with the elite and new wave, whatever they call themselves. But Wolf says that's where you're wrong, because history should tell you, Aaron, that this isn't about being better. This is about being smarter. And Wolf says, and that's a place I've always been better than you at. I've always been smarter than you, and you should have seen the signs before you stepped into this ring with me, because I am coming for your championship, and I'm not sure why you forgot, but I've always said it. I will do it by any means necessary. And just as we hear Wolf say that phrase, it's like Aaron Andrews realizes that perhaps he has stepped into the ring in what could be a setup. And then we see the crowd kind of losing their mind here, because they also see that someone has made their way standing behind Aaron Andrews, 99 for the segment. Who is it? It's not Nate Johnson. It's not Eddie Chandler. It is Ernest Youngman. As Ernest Youngman is standing behind Aaron Andrews, and just as before we saw earlier, he gave this cold stare to Troy Tornado. I said it's one of those unforgettable stares. We see the same one here as Ernest Youngman gives this cold stare to Aaron Andrews. And then what happens? Youngman with the hit to Aaron Andrews, 81 for the segment. And he leaves Aaron Andrews lying here in the middle of the ring as Kyle Rhodes says, what is happening right now? And we have to go off the air. So we're going off the air. Again, the little details I like. You're going off the air because we don't want to get the part where the babyface is running down to make the save and all that. We want to give the visual of Ernest Youngman laying over the top of Aaron Andrews. But before we go off the air, what happens? Wolf hands the microphone to Ernest Youngman, and we hear Ernest Youngman for the very first time in TCW, which you guys know by now. I kept it intentional that we've never heard from him before, because why? When you go back to the big sort of angle we had before the war to settle the score in February, there was the situation where Aaron Andrews got attacked backstage. Daryl Devine was handcuffed. Aaron Andrews was thrown into the vehicle that drove away, and when Andrews came back, he talked about being beaten within an inch of his life. He had no idea who did it, but he'll never forget the voice. Ernest Youngman stands over Aaron Andrews, and we hear just this gravelly voice saying, "Do you remember my voice now?" And so that is how we go off the air for this edition of Total Wrestling, the big reveal of the driver. I know it was predicted in the comments, I think on the previous episode, that we would find out who it would be. And of course, if you remember last week, Wolf was on the phone saying next week, tie it all together. It is Ernest Youngman. But what is the relationship here? What is going on? What else is Wolf up to? He's clearly setting up a lot of things leading into Total Mayhem, and we will see what that means for Aaron Andrews. 81 to finish the show. So we get an 88, so even not putting that in the main event slot gets us a tremendous segment. Also helped because we had the 99 here for this one. But even having Ernest in a 81 segment, I will absolutely take, because that means his popularity is going up now based on being in that one. So, look, guys, this was a this is a long edition of Total Wrestling, but this was jam-packed. We got, now only have 2 weeks left before Total Mayhem. I am trying to put a lot in here because there's a lot of storyline plots we got to tie up before we get there. So, that was your big reveal with Ernest Youngman seemingly being hired by Wolf Hawkins. But what does it all mean? What all is going on here? We'll find out soon enough. So there you go. 88, one of our best shows in the save thus far. And let's see what we get to before we wrap up. Whew, all right, that was Total Wrestling. That show was exhausting for me. Like, that was an emotional roller coaster with all the storylines and everything that we're putting in there. I put a lot. That's probably one of our most extensive TV shows we've had to this point, easily, with everything I put into that one. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. We did get an awesome show, fantastic reviews. Anything here of note? Not really. Let's look at here Ray Johnson. So one of our, I think, referees or something. Is he a referee or road agent? Road agent or referee. Sorry. I knew he's one of them. Like, okay. Contract ending, won't rehire him. Avery Gilmore's got an opinion. I'm liking what I hear from Ernest Youngman. There's money in the kids' promo of giving airtime. So that's perfect. So Youngman talks for the first time ever, and he only says, 5 words or 6 words or whatever. And Angry Gilmore's sold. He's like, I've heard everything I need to hear from this guy. He's had one promo in, 4 or 5 months, and that was enough to sell me on Ernest Youngman. So we're doing something right there with that one. T-Bone thinks Roderick Remus has charisma. He does. I keep saying I've got a plan for Roderick Remus. I just haven't been able to execute it just yet. We'll get there with Roderick. I think he's one that I've tried to protect a little bit. Even though he loses matches, I haven't really kind of thrown him to the wolves like I have some of the other guys to this point. But drug test fees, 4.06 TV rating. I think, guys, I could be wrong, but I think that's the highest TV rating we've ever done. And it makes sense for that show. It should have been. So let's look at the rating center here. Yeah, so we get 3 million viewers. We are just outpacing everybody else at this point. We go over 3 million viewers overall. Rating-wise, we're up into the 4s now. So we have got what they like to call heat heading into Total Mayhem. We're riding the wave of momentum right now after that episode. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And again, that was a very fun episode to book, and we are now only 2 weeks away from the big pay-per-view. So as always, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. As I said earlier, be sure to check out the WWE 2024 save. Lots of fun with that one so far. We'll have a new episode coming up on that one soon too, as we are on the road to WrestleMania 40 there. So check everything out going on with that. And anything else on the channel, you can go back and watch too. Lots of videos and series in the archive, so check it all out on that. But again, guys, I appreciate you watching as always. And on the next episode of our TCW save, it will be Total Wrestling for May Week 3.